when you're in it, it just feels real. I felt so many times like I didn't have a future. But I would write on my arm, "Don't quit." A lot of times plants will go dormant on the surface, but underneath the soil, they're very much alive and just waiting for the season where they can bloom and grow. I had no other choice but to persevere. When we left Mexico, I cried all the way here. I was 5 years old and I didn't want to leave my abuelita. My two grandmothers both taught me how to tend and care for plants, and just also what it meant for them to have homes that had that part of life in them. Because we learn about plants from our mothers or our grandmothers or people in our lives who mean a lot to us, there is a lot of power in that generational transfer of life. After I had my daughter, I pretty quickly on realized and was diagnosed with having postpartum depression. I just remember feeling like my daughter would be better off without me. You don't identify as a delusion, it just feels real. I remember so many times just this feeling of desperation, of immobility and not knowing what the future held for us. And I just lost my vision, my ability to see tomorrow. We moved into this new house and it was just wasteland. One day I just wanted to get out and clean it up a little bit, and the physical tiredness of that kind of labor, it was a feeling different than the feeling of depression, and it felt good. I have a very vivid memory of the first time that I put my hands in the soil and felt the warmth of the earth, feeling the cycle of life and all of the earth's natural processes. It was just a reminder about our interconnectedness with nature in a way that I feel is so easy to forget. And so I got into this rhythm of getting up super early in the morning, going out and gardening, and then as soon as my husband would get home from work, I'd go back out there and just weed. And I started slowly feeling noticeably better and better. I started finding different ways to bring plants into my space, finding beautiful old chandeliers. And I was somebody needs to put a plant on that. I started using little succulents and air plants and creating these really beautiful chandeliers. And I sold a bunch. And I got really excited that someone else liked what I did. Really slowly, it did not happen overnight, I got to this point where I was we need to open a store. I could just picture it in my mind, this paradise, this Paraíso. All of a sudden I could see again. Against all odds, I built this incredible, magical little space. When I picture the way that we used to be enveloped by nature, it's really different than the way we experience nature now. I wanted to recreate that. I want you to have to move a palm frond out of your way and a big fern in order to experience and walk through this space. We specialize in tropical houseplants that are acclimated to thrive indoors. The business is really centered around educating people about the plants so that they can thrive and so that, potentially it could be the kind of plant that they have for like 20 years and then give to their children. My daughter, Eva, she's 3. She loves being around plants. She's kind of like our unofficial employee. You might see her walking around asking people if they need help. Through this, she's been the constant anchor for me when things get really hard, which they do. I'm always fighting for my ability to exist, my business's ability to exist. And she's such a great reminder of why, why I should keep going. My husband, he's our customer service manager and store manager. He's extremely just supportive. My mom, she's probably helped me watch my daughter every single weekend for the last 3 years. And my dad, he gave me a loan out of his retirement fund. This whole space exists because my family came together and helped me build this place. That's a heavy weight. It meant that not only I get to have a future, but my daughter can have a future and beyond. I'm just really grateful for that. So many people in my community, they're incredibly resourceful and entrepreneurial, but don't have access to the capital they would need to open a store. Racial justice has to be strongly rooted in economic justice. And some of the best ways to generate generational wealth is through establishing a long-lasting business. The fact that I have this represents progress, and I want so much more for this too. I want this to be a pillar of the community. I want this to be an economic engine for people who wouldn't otherwise have access. I really want Paraíso to be a place where people can be and bring their whole selves, and where your whole self, inclusive of everything about you, is appreciated and cherished and honored in a way that's not always true about the society that we live in. There's just so much potential for the type of community that we can build. We can build this paradise of a place as long as we can exist.